how do you deal with bait that comes in this size and this size? You need an adjustable stinger hook. And I'm going to show you the second option of how to do that this week on Kayak Hacks.
Welcome back. If you're new to the channel, we cover kayak modifications, spin, and fly fishing. So poke that subscribe button so you don't miss anything.
I'll show you how to make this next, but here's the concept. Option 2 uses a sleeve, and you snell your stinger hook on to a line that now allows it to move up and down. And it's blocked from coming off by a knot right here with a little bit of super glue on it. So here's how it works. First thing you do is you put it on the hook. Now we're gonna bait up the mullet and then adjust the size of the stinger. Okay, I've got my mullet on, and in this case I want the stinger to be all the way back here, so I'm gonna go all the way to the limit of the line. So you can see it's getting all the way back here to the back. You can pre-rig these with different lengths of adjustment on them, and that way it can be very, very flexible for whatever you want to do. So now I'm all ready to go. Main hook that'll bear the weight when I cast, and then here's the stinger. So now that you've seen how it works, let me show you how you tie up the rig. So let's talk through how to create one of these stinger hooks. Here's the final product. You can see the stinger is going to move up and down this line very easily. So what you need to get going for this option is either a single sleeve or a double sleeve. Now the difference in terms of what you'll use is based on how heavy the line is you're going to run through here. Both work just fine. But on the single sleeve, as you can see here on this 50-pound test, it's too thick to be able to double this back, which is the first step of the process. But I could use a single sleeve if I'm using 20-pound test line or something similar. So first step is go ahead and pull off a good section of the line you're going to use for your stinger hook, and go ahead and tie a knot in one end and double this over at least twice, because the knot is what's going to hold the line when the fish grabs it, and I like honking it down pretty good. So that's the first step. Cut off that tag end, and now take your double sleeve, because this is 50-pound test, and I'm going to run the line in and then back around. And now this knot is going to be what's going to hold this on the hook. It's going to be able to pull it in like that. Now you could crimp this if you want, but you know, it makes it hard to get it on and off a hook, and you don't really need to crimp it for this technique to work. And crimpers cost about 30 bucks. So just go ahead and leave it like this. We're going to put some super glue on here a little bit later. And now the next step is to take the hook you're going to use for the stinger. In my case, I'm using this treble, and I'm going to lay it out with the line down the shaft of the treble hook. Put that aside. Now I like to use braid to snell the hook on, because it's just easier to work with, I think, than using mono. Now, interesting, the first step here needs to be to create a loop that you can use to pull on. And I like using just a surgeon's loop to do that. And I'll open up the loop now because it'll be awkward to do that later. And basically my finger is going to go in here and use this to pull. And get rid of this tag end. Now it's just a matter of laying the mono down along the shaft and snelling your hook using your favorite technique. I think the uni knot is good enough, so I'll go ahead and lay this down and snell it in here. Now one thing you want to do is to do this as close to the eye of the hook as you possibly can, because that's going to just make it neater and perform better. So I wrap it about 8 times. That's good enough. And now at the end, I'm going to wrap it around here a couple times because I want to use that as leverage. Now to tighten down the knot after I move it up close to the eye of the hook, I'm going to put my finger through this loop, making sure everything is lined up, and now using the loop and grabbing the end of the hook, I can really pull to make that snell nice and tight. Then cut off the tag ends. And we'll be ready for the final step. So the final decision you have to make is how long do you want this to be? And given that you can always make it shorter when you actually have the bait fish to put on here, I recommend go ahead and making it a little bit longer. And all you're going to do is do the same 2 overhand knots to create the blockage at the end. You can pull that tight. If you really want to pull it tight, what you can do is take a little screwdriver or something, put that through the loop, and then really pull on it. Cut off the tag end. Now there's one more step, but here's the concept. If you align this on the fish, it bites it, and this hook is going to slide down with the snell being blocked from coming off by the knot. And so you want this knot to be on very, very well. And so this is where I'll put a little bit of super glue here and up here just to make sure those knots don't come loose. But there's one more step, and that's making sure the snell here is also on very tight. And what I like to do is take a little dot of super glue, and you don't want to super glue it directly to the snell because it'll wrap around and it'll lock the snell down to your line. So turn it to where the line is below the shaft, and I'm just going to take this little piece of wire and I'm going to put just enough super glue on the line to make sure that it's not going to come unwrapped. And then move it around just a little bit to make sure that the super glue does not bind to the line. And now we're all set. You've got your adjustable stinger. To use this, you're going to put it on the hook first, and then you're going to measure on the bait fish how far down you want it to be, and once you get there, you're good to go. Now, if you want to shorten this, it doesn't matter if you have a little bit left over hanging out, but you really don't want too much hanging out. So in this case, let's say I wanted to shorten it down to about right there. So I retie my knot, tighten it down as good as I can, in this case pulling on the hook, cut off the tag end, and now I'm going to line this up on the bait fish. Now you can have this tag end hanging out, it's not going to hurt anything, so it doesn't need to be exact, but it does need to be close. If you've got another way to do a stinger hook other than the first option I showed you in this one, please throw it in the comments below, because I'd sure like to learn as many ways to do this as possible.